iOS 9 and OS 10 El Capitan are now in public beta. Facebook's new See First newsfeed feature is Google Glass revamping for the enterprise, and more. It's Thursday, July 9th, and this is Crunch Report. Apple's iOS 9 and OS 10 El Capitan, or El Capitan, depending on your region, both just went into public beta. So if you're like me and you kind of like to live on the wild side, you can download and then have access to the new News app, a better Notes app, transit directions in Apple Maps, improved Siri, and better search, which lets you surface results from inside apps, just to name a few improvements. These were all announced at WWDC last month, but now you don't have to be a developer to play with them. El Capitan for OS 10 features a new mission control, Spotlight, native apps like Safari, Mail, Maps, and Photos have all gotten updated. Now, as with anything labeled beta, of course, don't be surprised if you see some bugs or your system crashes. That's the trade-off for early access to a bunch of new features. Public beta testers of either El Cap or iOS 9 will be able to upgrade to the final versions when they hit later this fall. Remember Google Glass? You know, the kind of creepy headpiece thingy that made people break out into fights at bars, at least in San Francisco, or at least make fun of other people wearing Google Glass. Lots of people did that. 9 to 5 Google reports that Google is working on an upgraded version of Glass, but not for general consumers, for the enterprise market. The upcoming edition will reportedly have a larger display prism, an Intel Atom CPU, which would improve battery life, and would also work with an external battery pack. This is designed for enterprise users who don't really need to read tweets that are streamed into their eyes, but they might need to get information related to their job. A warehouse worker, for example. The Wall Street Journal reported back at the end of 2014 that Google was rethinking Glass's best use cases and would release an updated model in 2015. Starting to look that way. Facebook just cannot leave its news feed alone, or at least how we as Facebook users use our news feeds. A new iOS update rolling out to the US today includes a way to choose friends and pages that we want to see first. That's actually the name of the feature. You can also quickly look up who's shown most in your feed and let you unfollow them while still staying friends, or refollow people you've hidden maybe and then forgot about, or even discover pages based on your interests. As for choosing the see first pages, TechCrunch's Josh Constein predicts brands will start campaigning for you to add them to your See First section so you never miss their posts. It's kind of like the new like our page. Ugh. Facebook says that this process has been redesigned to make it less cumbersome to filter news feeds and feel less like a chore, and just give control back to the individual rather than relying only on technology and algorithms to recreate what we would organically choose ourselves. Well, Uber does not want to have to consider its drivers employees instead of independent contractors. The company filed a briefing in court today that opposes a class action lawsuit that claims the company is depriving its driving fleet of certain rights and certain benefits. Little refresher. The California Labor Commission ruled on a court case back in June that at least one Uber driver was an employee and not considered an independent contractor. But Uber claims 87% of drivers use Uber mostly because they love being their own boss. They can set their own schedules, they can earn a fixed hourly wage, and they're also allowed to drive using other ride-sharing apps if they so desire. It's the freedom, right? For the record, rival service Lyft is dealing with its own class action suit over the same thing. Uber's filing today tries to block the suit against it by arguing it can't be considered a class action if it doesn't represent the majority of the drivers working on Uber's platform. The great rapper Tupac once said, "Let's change the way we eat." You know what would make Tupac happy? Innovations in biotech. A startup called Clara Foods is using dough to create egg whites from genetically modified yeast without having to use chickens. And the company just announced a $1.7 million seed funding round. The Clara Foods founders first tried this as an experiment inside biotech accelerator IndieBio to produce a genetically identical lab-grown egg white liquid using a batch of manipulated yeast. So, an idea like this, it's kind of nuts, but if it can scale, could drastically reduce the cost and the time to raise chickens, get eggs from chickens, separate the egg whites out of the yolks. That's a common ingredient in pasta and condiments and baked goods. Big companies want to know how to do this. It would also cut way down on the spread of diseases like avian flu and salmonella, and save a lot of chickens. It's also a really good time for egg alternatives. This spring, an avian flu epidemic in the US Midwest killed off 48 million farm chickens, with egg production currently down by more than 10% and prices up 70% in some markets since mid-April. And that's the report for today. I'm Sarah Lane. Crunch Report airs Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on TechCrunch.com. We will see you tomorrow.